we can talk about joint stock companies and other forms, but we will spend a lot of time, and the basic difference, the main difference between LLC and joint stock company is just matter of allocating share stocks. That's all. Other part is the same. I mean, registration points and capital requirements all same, but main difference is shares, sales of shares, and allocating of stocks. So we must proceed some public requirements, rules of allocating, and preemptive rights of shareholders during the sale of a share. So big difference just in it. Okay. Okay. My videos. You can see me right now. Let's talk about LLC. LLC is GmbH in Germany. So it's German term. Member. We call member or shareholder. In your country, I think you call member. This one. You're using the term member. German, they're using term shareholder. So we must have at least one member in our LLC. It's not limited with maximum number of member. So, for example, in my country, in LLC, we can have only 50 members. Only 50. If it exceeds 50, we must change corporate form to joint stock company or cooperative. Do you know cooperative? Do you remember? We talked about, I think, cooperative. Cooperative. I should spell it cooperative. What about your country? Do you have like limitation of maximum number of members in LLC?
It's two to 50 members. So minimum is 2 members and maximum is 50.
In your country you have minimum number is 2. It's really interesting, and maximum 50. So you can see that we have the same concept of LLC. Only difference in minimum number. So your country is taking really pure corporation concept in LLC. However, we take more like US concept. I see. So big difference. You know why? I will repeat again, but reason why German LLC structures allowing one person to be member is because they allow to add new members in future. That's why they allow LLC with one member at the moment of incorporation. They admit that it's not correct to have LLC with just one member, but since they can add new members easily, so the law having such model, what you can see on the screen. In Europe, in Europe, in my country also, I think in your country is the same. The corporate forms basically regulated by domestic law. Uh, in case of Europe, they have a little bit complicated system with EU law, or they have directives which specific rules which each country should admit and adopt. But however, the domestic law is main in regulation. What you need to create LLC in, for example, Germany, the, you need to have memorandum of association, or you can say article of association, or you can say agreement of association. You can call it agreement of incorporation. You can call it incorporation agreement. It doesn't matter how you call it. It's charter document. They call it memorandum of association. But difference is content. We will talk about it. Content. Just what? Just take a look at the content of article of association. What you must have inside of such document. I think it's different with your country. Most important is the business name and registered office and purpose of enterprise, amount of share capital, number and the nominal value of shares, and if you have a specific term or extra obligation or responsibilities of members, everything should be mentioned in articles of association. You know why the German government is not asking for the full, um, full description and how your company gonna to run. I mean, shareholders meetings and the corporate executive bodies, auditing, etc. They don't need, the government don't need to have such rules to be registered because it's your internal affairs. I guess in your country, government asking the full description, right? Full explanation how your company is going to work. But in UK and German, they have a pure, initial concept what actually was introduced, that government only needs only main part, your name, your address, your charter capital, your purpose, and if you have term or extra responsibility, all should be mentioned in articles of association. It's the main difference with other companies. Yeah, other states. So AA, articles of association, it's kind of contract signed by all members. It must be signed by all members, and you must proceed notarization. It must meet notarized form of contract. So I think you can see the difference with your country. I think if you have two members and maximum 50 and you have public registration, I think, what about foreign investors? Foreign investors, whether they can, whether they can, just a moment, please. What about foreign investors? Whether they can easily be members in in LLC in your country? Is there any requirements? Foreign investor can have a 100% share capital in LLC in your country.
I don't know if it's difficult or not, but I have seen those kinds of company, so I'm not sure.
Mm. In countries with strict corporate forms, I'm not sure about Vietnam. We should study. Uh, they have a they have requirements that foreign investor cannot have a more than 50%, something like this. Something like this. For example, I think Philippines and China has a such rules that 100% share capital cannot be owned by foreign investor. In case of German or US, it's not strictly regulated. They allow foreign investor to have full ownership on a company of a company. In my country, it's the same. So foreign investors can be like 100%, but some countries saying taking the different position regards against such rules. Okay, so German is a little bit strict regards registration, so you must have a notarized form of articles of association, but they have simplified procedure without notarized form, without notary authentication. If you meet two requirements, so first, your shareholders or members less than three, and you have one director. So you can do it online, or you can submit the document, but you must use the confirmed and adapted template. So you cannot use your own uh, article of association. Otherwise, you must proceed notarization. But if you use confirmed and government provided template, and if you have a less than three shareholders and one director, so it means you can go and easily create LLC. So you shouldn't pay money to notary office. Um, Comparing to partnership in Germany, partnerships, if you create partnership, all partners must come to registry office, commercial register, and submit application. But in case of LLC, the government allowing representatives to submit documents to court based on power of attorney. So you see the difference, right, between partnership and LLC. So partnership, all partners can must participate in registration, but in case of LLC, representatives can be involved in such procedure. We just see it. So I move to next. During the con, during registration, article of registration should contain regulation. Some stipulations about share capital. So amount of share capital and the number and nominal value of the share to each shareholder subscribes against the payment of capital contribution into share capital. So German law regulating the LLC must have not less than 25,000 euro share capital amount. What about your country? How much you have? What's the minimum amount? You know, interesting point. If you're a second grade students, second year students, and you're already studying corporate law, what you gonna study in third grade and fourth grade? Because you know, corporate law usually studying when you are like finishing grade or graduating grade or something like third, I mean higher after finishing all civil law, civil procedure law subjects. What you study after second year?
Um, for the questions about the state capital, I think that in our country, we do not have any requirement for the minimum state capital that the LLC or even the JSC should have and should obey. It depends on like the choice of the member that established the LLC.
I see. You know, LLC and joint companies should must have. We will talk about must have minimum share capital. We will talk about it later on share capital topic, but you know, the concept is if you have limited liability, you must have guarantees to creditors that you're gonna fulfill and provide obligation. So how to protect creditors? First is incorporation requirement. I mean registration of company is the first requirement. Second one, fiduciary duties of members and I mean executive bodies, fiduciary duties. Third one is share capital requirements. So your company must always uh, fulfill and maintain the minimum share capital requirements. So the company balance cannot fall short of share capital requirement. So it will help to make your company payable, able to pay debts. And the fourth one is the auditing and bookkeeping requirement. So you always provide report to government that you're having turnover and you're having business activities and the government can see whether you exist actually and you working. That's why share capital is really highly recommended by German law. But UK and US doesn't accept such concept because they see that it's all lie, I mean false. You can say it's false. Sorry with my with my nose voice, I think I a little bit got a flu. If you have any questions about topic, please ask. I really appreciate if you have questions. When I tell all my students that teachers develop when students asking question. If students not asking questions, it means that first teacher is kind of boring first. The second one, teacher uh, cannot develop. I mean, mental and skills points we cannot develop without students questions. The most important is asking questions, I think. Okay, let's move. As we talked before, the nominal value of each share must be full year amount. However, the German law allowing that the nominal value of individual shares may be variously determined. For example, normal shares 20, but individual shares is 60. Is the example. It's not like statutory or compulsory rule, but it's example that, for example, normal shares we set is 20 euro, but some individual shares we can set it's 60 euro or 80 euro. It's something like this. Despite the really strict requirements of incorporation, German law allowing to have a simplified share capital requirement with entrepreneurial company with €1 only in cash contribution to be established. It's also LLC, but difference you use this term in the name EU, entrepreneurial company with €1. So you can create company with €1, but contribution must be in cash. Contribution in kind is not allowed. And each year, 1/4 of annual surplus, I mean income surplus, should be used to reach €25,000 requirement. Why German law created some specific rules like this? Because of EU policy. If you remember, we talked that in Europe, all companies from another state, I mean, for example, UK companies can run a business in Germany. In UK, it's really easy to open company. So many investors created companies in UK by did business, doing business in Germany. So actually, money going to UK. So German started losing money, investors, to protect them, not protect, I mean to maintain the existence in Germany. They created like special firm, what you can see on the screen right now. If you create company in UK, it means that you're paying tax in UK also. So it was a little bit inappropriate for German. That's why they created €1 LLC. You can see on the screen the main steps of registration. So first, you must submit application to commercial register. Commercial register is located within the building of a court of a district where your company going to have an office address. After one quarter of nominal value of each share has been deposited, you can be eligible to submit application. So prior to registration, you must deposit money. Did you get it? I think it's important. In your country, maybe after registration, you must deposit money. But in German, before registration, you must deposit money to special notary office account to fulfill such a requirement. And it will show that you really highly intended to create company. So minimum amount is 1/4, but you can provide full amount to be deposited. So application must contain address of main activity and director's right. Oops. So it's most important, this part is director's right. I think your country doesn't have such rule. It's interesting. Even in US, they don't have in case of LLC they have. In case of LLC they have. But in case of partnership in US, they don't have such rule. It's voluntary that you can submit statement of authority to the state secretary. In case of partnership in German, the members must provide and have a statement of authority. In case of LLC, the same rules as you can see laid down. What it means, director's rights on an application? It means that director's right will be published in commercial register, so any creditor can see what kind of rights the agent, director, has. So it will protect creditors while they dealing with such LLC. Okay, move on. German law allowing to make contribution in kind. So if, as you can see, contribution in kind, but this court will check whether you did correct valuation. If you did overvaluation of contribution in kind, the court may indicate that you must pay compensation in cash. So the company has a right to claim during next 10 years after registration. So stature is 10 years. Also, in case of false statements or improper registration, shareholders must pay as a joint debtors all expenses of a company. And if creditors expensive involved in such matter, company cannot refuse such right to claim. So company can refuse to use such right, but if creditors' rights involved, so company cannot refuse such a right. And the statute is 5 years, as you can see on the screen. What about Vietnam? Can you make contribution in kind?
Yes.
Oh, good. What about evaluation? Who running?
Um, Evaluation is depending on the choice of the company. They can be made by a majority vote of the members of the company, or they can hire an appraisal organization. And in case where over evaluation is present, then the members they are liable for any kind of debt or liability that arise from that.
Interesting. Your country is kind of good example of contribution on in kind rules. Yeah. So your country's system, I mean, in such way, much better than my country's system. In which case, court can refuse and will not make statement in commercial register. So decision maker is the court, is the most important. The court deciding whether company should be incorporated, can be incorporated. So article of association becoming null and void. And I mean the grounds. First ground is this one. Second ground is over evaluation of contribution kind, false docs, and violated creditors' rights and interest. So if you write in article of session that you're gonna any statements which can break creditors' rights guaranteed by state rights means it will bring you to the position that your company cannot be incorporated because of such requirement. If you don't meet such grounds, so it means the court will have you entry in a commercial register. So you can see that court actually exam checking your documents. You can see the court actually checking. We have two main systems in incorporation. First, you just have documents first. So registration based on belief in this way. And second one, examination of documents you provided. So German taking position of second, that actually court exam doing examination, checking the documents you provided. But UK and English systems, they're based on belief. So different concepts between them. After you fully meet the requirements, court making entry your company, and what must that entry contain? As you can see, business name, registered office, domestic business address, your company purpose, amount of share capital, date of conclusion, articles of association, names of directors, and nature of directors' power of representation. So any person, creditor or other companies can see all such items on screen on special commercial register website. What about your country? Do you know what kind of information is published in commercial register of Vietnam? So any person can see what kind of statements they have.
In our country, the content of the registration is different from the certificate that is published. So, so for the registration certificate, it will include the, wait, I'm not entirely sure. So maybe I'll just list out the content of the registration.
I see. I will show a little bit my country maybe. It's interesting that так, так, number, head office, full name, contract. I see is not much, right? For example, I will show you one company. I mean, in my country, so we don't have English. It's not good. Where can I find English version? I choose like this. Так, I try to show one example how it's gonna use. I see. Problem is language. I will try to do English. A547. Okay, it's going to work. Okay, I'm moving to another screen. I think you see, right, the website page, and is what we have. Again, in 1 minute it will finish my Zoom meeting, so you must enter again to join the conversation we have. Okay, let's go on talk. We have general information about each company. First, TNI is tax ID, taxpayer ID, registration date. This one is a registered body name, so it actually doesn't mean. So full name,